Reincarnated with the strongest system. Chapter 531, Wrapped in Tender Feelings. The sound of kissing reverberated inside the bathtub. William felt the urgency in Princess Sidonie's kisses, and knew that she was at her limit. He then embraced her smooth and seductive body as the power of lust overflowed from within her, sending shivers down her spine. "Will, please," Princess Sidonie pleaded as she pressed her naked body over him. Although the bathtub was filled with cold water, the heat inside her body continued to burn unabated. "I understand," William replied as he kissed her forehead. The half-elf then started caressing the princess body in order to release the pent-up lust that it had accumulated since he left to conquer the Mirage Cavern in Silverwind City. The beautiful lady surrendered her body to her beloved, and allowed him to do whatever he wanted. Just like an itch behind her back that she couldn't scratch, Princess Sidonie had felt her frustration build while William wasn't around. Seeing her current state made the half-elf's heart ache, so he used his expertise to kiss, suck, lick, and bite the itch that the princess wasn't able to reach. It didn't take long before Princess Sidonie's body shuddered, as her beloved brought her to the peak. However, once was not enough. It was not so easy to sate the power of lust, and both of them knew it. "Darling, let's take this to the bedroom," Morgana whispered in William's ear. "It's my turn now." "Okay," William replied and kissed her. They were currently inside the villa located in the dungeon of Atlantis. A day in the outside world was equivalent to 3 days inside the dungeon. William thought it would be best to absorb all the overflowing divinity from his lover's body, in order to stabilize her condition completely. After drying themselves with magic, William sat on the bed, while Morgana kneeled on the floor in front of him. Princess Sidonie's other half lowered her head and lovingly kissed William's. If other people were to see her now, they would be surprised because the beautiful lady that all the men and women adored in the academy, was currently servicing a half-elf with her seductive lips. Although both girls were still inexperienced, that didn't stop them from doing their best to make William feel good. It didn't take long before the red-headed teenager uttered a soft grunt, before releasing his essence inside her mouth. Morgana ceased all actions and focused on taking in William's precious seed. She didn't intend to waste even a single drop of it because it belonged to the man that she, and Princess Sidonie loved. 2 minutes later, the two lovers were on top of the bed and seeking each other's warmth. The power of lust was continuously being absorbed by the gem on William's chest, easing the discomfort that the princess was feeling as the time went by. Although they still didn't cross the last line, that didn't prevent them from having their fill of each other's love, through words and actions. A few hours later, Princess Sidonie slept peacefully in William's embrace. Her smooth, and near-perfect body, that would drive both men and women crazy, laid on top of the man she loved, and the latter held her firmly, unwilling to let go. William looked at his lover's sleeping face. He realized that parting with her for a long period of time would put her and the people around her in grave danger, if her power suddenly flared out in the wrong place, and the wrong time. "System, can you make it so that Sidonie can go to the Thousand Beast domain even if we are far apart?" "It is possible. I want you to make it happen." "Certainly. However, for that, the host will need to pay 50,000 God points. We will need to tweak the collar of Wisteria and add a waypoint that will allow it to connect to the Thousand Beast domain, regardless of how far the two of you are apart." William nodded. "Do it." "Understood." Deducting 50,000 God points in order to embed a mini teleportation gate inside the collar of Wisteria. Remaining points, 4,450,642. The collar on Princess Sidonie's neck glowed, but its wearer was currently not aware of what was happening. Half a minute later, the glow disappeared and everything returned to normal. William breathed a sigh of relief because with this added feature, his lover would be able to teleport inside his Thousand Beast domain to seek his help if her divinity suddenly started to go out of control. The half-elf kissed the sleeping princess forehead once before closing his eyes to sleep. He was also exhausted because Princess Sidonie's, and Morgana's, stamina almost rivaled his own. Clearly, the two girls were born for love-making, and William looked forward to the day when he would finally become one with her. Back in Princess Sidonie's room inside the girls' dormitory, Chiffon hummed as she scrubbed her body with soap. She had not taken a proper bath since she had explored the dungeon with William, and it made her feel uncomfortable. After properly washing her body, she donned a new set of clothes that Princess Sidonie had bought for her, and laid on top of the bed to sleep. She hadn't had a proper sleep as well, so she took this opportunity to catch up. Ian promised to pick her up so they could have dinner together. The little girl was surprised when the princess of the Creator Empire suddenly disappeared from on top of the bed. Chiffon had wanted to ask William what happened, but the latter only said that he would explain it at a later time. Back then, William had a worried look on his face, so she decided to not pry any further and watched him leave in haste. Ian had also accompanied William to return to the dormitory. Both of them were boys, so they couldn't possibly stay inside the girls' dormitory for a long time. I hope they will take me with them again when they go to the dungeon, Chiffon thought as she hugged Princess Sidonie's pillow. I didn't know that exploring dungeons with other people was that much fun. She had always been alone most of the time, and stayed away from people. When William asked her if she wanted to accompany him to the dungeon, she readily said yes. Back then, she only agreed because she didn't want to be lonely. Chiffon didn't expect that in those days battling inside the dungeon, she would feel things that she had never felt before. It was not her first time fighting monsters. In the demon continent, fighting was a way of life. However, this time, she hadn't fought alone. There were people who treated her as their equal, and William even held her hand most of the time. The little girl placed her hand over her chest as she pondered on what the source of this warmth that she was feeling inside her chest was. She wished, with all of her heart, that there would be more opportunities where she would experience this feeling again. I don't want to be alone again, Chiffon said softly as the tender feelings wrapped itself over her cold body. She had been alone for a very long time, and longed for the warmth of someone that would stay by her side forever. Chapter 532, My Era Has Come. Have you heard the news? They said that someone has broken the record of the Academy in the individual rankings. I did. According to the 5th years, Prince Jason has broken the record that had been set by the first prince. His Highness is truly a prodigy. I bet that all the girls in his class are looking at him with infatuation. Hasn't that always been the case? I wish that they would just post the result now. Must they keep us all in suspense? I want to see which classes were able to get the highest points this year. Why are you in a hurry? Do you have a bet with someone? Yes. I made a bet with a third-year student from Class F. That moron said that they would be ranked first this year, so I agreed to the bet. How lucky! You got some easy cash there, bro. I know, right? The students were getting rowdy as they waited in the Academy Plaza for the results of the quarterly assessment test. This was where all the points of the different classes in each school year would be posted. Not only that, it would also show the individuals who gained the highest merits in each year grade as well. These individuals would often be sought out by the high officials and nobles of the Creator Empire to train under their guidance. This way, they would have a talented subordinate that would help them out in the future. Look! It's Prince Jason. He's so handsome. He must be feeling proud of himself for beating the record that his older brother made a few years ago. Definitely. I know I would be grinning from ear to ear if that were to happen to me. Prince Jason had a friendly smile on his face as he made his way at the very front of the giant monument at the center of the plaza. The crowd parted before him, and all of them bowed their heads to show their respect for the prince of their empire. Prince Jason didn't stop walking until he arrived at the very front row, where most students were waiting for the result. The prince ignored all of them and raised his head to look at the very top of the monument. There, a name, written in bold letters, shone brightly even when the sun was at its zenith. Maximilian Hal Creator. The name of the first prince of the Creator Empire shone brightly. This name had been the target of all the students inside Silverwind Academy. A name that they had long wanted to surpass in order to gain untold honors from their emperor. Prince Jason sneered in his heart because he had long wanted to prove that he was better than the first prince of the empire. He had been feeling giddy since the moment he woke up that morning. Why? Because this was the day when his name would appear on the top of the monument. A name he believed would remain at the top even after hundreds of years had passed. It was the greatest honor within Silverwind Academy. Just imagining all of the students looking up to his name made Prince Jason almost laugh out loud. However, since he was a prince, he needed to maintain his image. Suddenly, a commotion happened. The crowd once again parted to allow three beautiful ladies to pass unimpeded. They were Prince Jason's cousins. Emperor Leonidas had 3 sons, and 2 daughters. Currently, his 3 sons were vying for the throne. The current emperor was old, and he had also announced that he would only remain in his position for 2 years before handing it out to one of his sons. No one knew whom the emperor was leaning on, but the battle between the 3 brothers was being waged in the shadows. Although their children didn't dabble in politics, the young princes and princesses' accomplishments would also give their parents a much-needed boost in popularity if they performed well inside the academy. "So you are here, big brother Jason," one of the beautiful ladies with long blonde hair and grey eyes said with a smile. Her eyes softened as she looked at her big brother whom she had secretly loved all these years. "Vanessa, it's been a while," Prince Jason replied with a nod. "Big sister Hannah, big sister Amanda, I pray that both of you are well." "I'm good," Princess Hannah answered. "The assessment test was quite competitive this year. Did you manage to get some good points, cousin?" Prince Jason crossed his arms over his chest and gave his cousin a mysterious smile. "I think I managed to get some decent points." Princess Amanda chuckled as he looked at her cousin who was looking back at them with a confident smile. "There are rumors going around that you have beaten Big Brother Maximilian's record. How true is this rumor?" Prince Maximilian was Princess Amanda's blood brother. The two of them had a very good relationship with each other, and always watched each other's back. Seeing that someone was threatening her big brother's position, Princess Amanda felt anxious inside her heart. Prince Jason didn't answer and only smiled at his cousins. He was doing his best to not boast in front of them, because he wanted to see the look on their faces when his name appeared on top of the monument. "You look very smug today, cousin." A deep and confident voice reached Prince Jason's ears, and the latter clenched his fist before looking at the direction where the voice came from. 4 good-looking teenage boys walked with grace, which made the faces of the ladies in the plaza blush in delight. They were the 4 young princes of the Creator Empire, and all of them had gathered to see the results of the rankings. "Do I look smug right now?" Prince Jason asked the first prince of the Creator Empire whom he had treated as his rival. "Very," Prince Maximilian replied. "I could see your nose from beyond the 7th grade residences. Looks like the rumors flying around have substance in them." Princess Amanda's heart sank when she heard her big brother's words. Although she wouldn't believe the rumors until the evidence was right in front of her eyes, it still made her uneasy because of how confident Prince Jason looked. A prince of the Creator Empire should be confident. Prince Jason shrugged. "If we can't even do that, then we won't be suited for the position that was bestowed upon us. Isn't that right, cousin?" "True," Prince Maximilian replied as he placed his hands behind his back. No more words were spoken between the 2 princes. A subtle tension hung in the air as the rowdy crowd earlier quieted down. For some reason, it was very hard for them to speak because the presence of the royal family pressed down on them like a mountain. A few minutes later, the bell of the academy started to ring. It was the spark that made everyone look at the monument at the same time. The giant black monument suddenly sprang to life as the names that had been written there months ago disappeared, and were replaced by new ones. The first ones to appear were the rankings of the first years. It was immediately followed by the second years, then third years, and so on, and so forth. Prince Jason's lips curled up into a smile when he saw his name appear in first place in the individual rankings of the 5th year division. The changes on the monument were happening gradually. It would still take a few seconds before it reached the top of the monument where Prince Maximilian's name shone in bold golden letters. Prince Jason clenched his fist as he waited for his name to appear on the top. His smile became wider when his older cousin's name slowly faded from on top of the monument. My era has come, Prince Jason mused. This time, all of you will look up to me. Every student in the plaza also noticed the change that was happening at the very top of the monument. All of them waited in bated breath as a new name appeared on the spot reserved for someone who had broken the previous records of the academy. A name whose fame would spread far and wide in the central continent in the next years to come. Chapter 533, Short-Lived Happiness. Jason Hal Creeder. Merit points, 621,489. A loud cheering broke out in the crowd when they saw Prince Jason's name appear on top of the monument. Anyone who was able to break the record of the academy was like an idol in their hearts. This was the goal that everyone in Silverwind Academy strived for. They wanted their names to be at the very top of the monument, to be stared at by the future elites of the empire. The 5th prince of the Creeder Empire faced the crowd and gave them a princely bow that was overflowing with charisma. Princess Vanessa's face reddened when she saw her beloved's name on top of the monument. She glanced at the handsome prince, and hurriedly covered the lower half of her face with a fan, to prevent anyone from seeing the sweet smile on her face. Prince Maximilian didn't look at his cousin's smug expression as his gaze remained fixated on the name on top of the monument. Fool! Prince Maximilian sneered internally. As the first prince of the Creeder Empire, he was privy to confidential information that was not readily accessible to the public. Since that was the case, he already knew that his record had been broken. However, it was not only broken by one person. It was broken by two people. The giant black monument showed things in its proper order. Since Prince Jason had broken his record first, then his cousin's name would appear on the monument, albeit fleetingly. What Prince Maximilian was waiting for was the moment when his arrogant cousin's happiness would come crumbling down. After paying the students his good graces, Prince Jason noticed that the first prince of the Creeder Empire was still staring at his name on top of the monument. A sense of superiority bloomed inside his chest as he walked towards the first prince who had always stood ahead of him for the past few years. Cousin, I got lucky this time, Prince Jason said with a smile. I hope you don't mind. I don't mind, Prince Maximilian said. You did well by breaking my record. This is the right attitude that a prince should have. Cousin, let's go to the Whispering Wind Tavern later. Drinks are on me. I will take you up on that offer, cousin. Make sure that you don't keep me waiting. But of course. Prince Jason chuckled as he sneered at the first prince internally. You sure know how to put on an act, Prince Jason ridiculed Prince Maximilian in his heart. Let's see how long you can keep up that facade of yours, dear cousin of mine. What Prince Jason didn't know was that the first prince of the Creeder Empire was already laughing internally. Prince Maximilian had already noticed that his cousin's name was starting to fade from the top of the monument. Since he was the only one looking at the monument at the moment, no one had seen the changes that were happening. The oldest prince waited for a few more seconds before shifting his gaze at Prince Jason, who had a smug expression on his face. Dear cousin, it's quite unfortunate that your happiness is short-lived, Prince Maximilian chuckled as he pointed his finger at the top of the monument. Your name is no longer written there. Prince Jason sneered at his cousin before looking up at the monument. He thought that the first prince was just saying nonsense in order to divert his attention away from him. However, the moment Prince Jason's eyes laid on the name that was written on top of the monument, his body stiffened and the sneer on his face disappeared completely. William von Ainsworth. Merit points, 6,913,367. W. Watt, one of Prince Jason's lackeys, gasped in shock. Oh, over 6 million merit points. It was not only Prince Jason's lackeys that had been shocked, but everyone in the plaza. They thought that they were only seeing things, but after rubbing their eyes repeatedly they had come to the conclusion that what they were seeing was real. Impossible. How could such a high merit exist? Prince Jason's was only over 600,000. This new record is nearly 7 million. How could this be possible? Wait, I know that name. Isn't that the name of the fiancé of Princess Sidonie? Now that you mention it, you are right. It's that guy that has been tossed to Class F. This is truly unexpected. To think that one can gain this many merit points during the assessment test is a first. Everyone was in uproar and William's name was spoken here and there. Prince Maximilian had a devilish smile on his face as he patted his cousin's shoulder, who seemed to have lost the color in his face. "I'll be waiting for you at the Whispering Wind Tavern later," Prince Maximilian said. "Don't keep me waiting, cousin." Prince Maximilian chuckled as he walked away from the giant monument to return to his residences. The expression on his cousin's face was priceless, and he had succeeded in secretly recording it in a crystal because Prince Jason wasn't able to recover from the shock right away. "I think I will meet with this boy named William," Prince Maximilian thought. "Someone as extraordinary as him will definitely be a good addition to our empire. I heard that he is Princess Sidonie's fiancé. That girl sure knows how to pick good men." The first prince of the Creator Empire was in such a good mood, that he didn't notice that he was humming as he walked back towards his residence in the academy. Meanwhile, while everyone was in an uproar, a certain shepherd had just left the bathroom alongside a beautiful lady with light blue hair. "The results of the assessment test should have been posted by now," Ash said as she dried her hair with a bath towel. "Are you sure you don't want to go there?" She was currently seated on the bed, and looking at the boy who was rummaging for clothes inside the closet. "I'll look later," William said as he helped his lover wear her clothes. "The test results won't be going anywhere. Besides, I'd rather look at you than that giant black monument. What's so good about it? Can those results be eaten?" Ash lovingly pinched William's ears because of his flattering words. The half-elf suddenly grinned mischievously as he counter-attacked and pinched Ash's. "You're hopeless," Ash replied as she grabbed the naughty hand that had repeatedly brought her to the peak of pleasure a few minutes ago. "Be serious, Sidonie and Chiffon are already waiting for us." William kissed her lips before putting on his own clothes. Today was also a rest day for the students, so they planned to go to the Whispering Wind Tavern to celebrate. The half-elf had gone there once when he was exploring the city in search of its popular attractions. The Whispering Wind Tavern was a place that was exclusive for the nobles of the Creator Empire. No commoner could enter the place. Technically, William, Ian, and Chiffon wouldn't be able to enter. Fortunately, Princess Sidonie was well known in the academy and in Silverwind City. It would be easy for them to enter the tavern since they were going to act as the princess entourage. Also, William, Ash, and Princess Sidonie wanted to let Chiffon experience something that she had never experienced before. The half-elf had asked the little girl if she had drunk in a tavern before, and the latter firmly shook her head. When William asked if she wanted to try going to one, Chiffon nodded her head like a hen pecking rice. The pink-haired girl was half-dwarven, but she had never had the chance to drink wine in the past. According to the information that William had gained from the system, dwarves had a high alcohol tolerance. As for Ash, William already knew what state she would be in after drinking a few glasses of wine. The half-elf was half-tempted to let his mermaid lover drink to her heart's content. That way, he would once again experience that aggressive mermaid that once tore off his clothes in her drunken state. None of them were aware of the commotion that was currently happening in the plaza of the academy as William's fame shot up to the roof. Chapter 534, Let's Go Darling. It's now time for our date. William and Ian walked side by side as they headed to the girls' dormitory to pick up Princess Sidonie and Chiffon. The half-elf noticed that all the students that he passed were looking at him with various expressions. Some look at him with admiration, envy, and jealousy, but none of them looked down on him like they did a week ago. The half-elf had a calm expression on his face, but deep inside he was feeling smug because of the attention he was getting. Since he had declared that he would be Chiffon's caretaker, he needed to show his classmates that he was capable of backing up his words. Ian, who seemed to have guessed why the students were acting like this, chuckled internally. "I guess the impact of your performance shut them up completely," Ian said through telepathy. Although she didn't say it out loud, she was very proud of William's accomplishments. Any girl would be happy if their man was an outstanding person. Ian wouldn't admit it, but she had admired William since he had saved them from the mountain trolls on their way to the temple to take the test of courage. "As long as they don't bother us, I won't come looking to bother them," William replied. "I came here to the Creator Empire to lift the curses on your bodies. It's just the Emperor is playing hard to get and stalling for time. Without his approval, I am not allowed to visit Aemon's temple." Ian nodded. Even with Princess Sidonie's help, the Emperor hadn't yet agreed to William's request to go to Aemon's temple to have an audience with the god that was responsible for placing a curse on their bodies. The Emperor, however, told William that he should enroll at Silverwind Academy for the time being and show him what he was capable of. Once he deemed that he was worthy to meet with their deity, he would give his approval, so that William could visit Aemon's temple. The two of them continued their journey towards the girls' dormitory. However, the moment they entered its premises, a dozen girls appeared out of nowhere and clung to William. "Sir William, you are amazing. I know that you are Princess Sidonie's fiancé, but I can't stop myself from loving you," a cute girl said with starry eyes. "Can you please make me your mistress? Even a concubine will do." "Sir William, pick me instead," the girl clinging to William's left arm pleaded. "I am a good cook, and I have been trained with proper etiquette. Do you have a maid? I can be your personal maid. Of course, if you also want me to warm your bed at night, this humble servant will happily serve you all night. Pick me, Sir William. I am the only daughter of Baron. I am the third daughter of Duke." William was bombarded by proposals left and right, and was unable to get rid of the girls clinging to him. Even Ian, who was just standing beside him a minute ago, was pushed aside by the crowd of girls that was growing by the minute. "Girls, please, listen to me," William said in a suave voice that would put all the best Hollywood actors to shame. "I know that I am handsome and awesome, but you shouldn't fight for me like this." The half-elf raised his head to look at the sky. It was at this moment when a gentle breeze ruffled his hair, making the hearts of the ladies around him skip a beat. "Beautiful ladies, I apologize because my heart is not big enough to fit all of you," William said in a tone filled with regret. "However, I believe that all of you will be able to find a man that is less handsome and less awesome than me. Life is filled with unexpected surprises, so don't give up. I am but one of the many fishes in the ocean. I pray that you girls will find your beautiful ending someday." The girls blushed because of William's shameless words. Although the bastard half-elf had explicitly told them that they would never find a man as handsome and awesome as him, they still thought that he was just teasing them. They became more rowdy and started to say things like "Kaya. Sir William is so romantic," or "Sir William is what all men should aspire to be." Ian, who had been pushed away, stared at the crowd as if she was staring at lunatics that hadn't taken their medicine for the day. The mermaid was half tempted to summon her whip and whip the crazy girls until they returned to their senses. She then glanced at the smug-faced bastard half-elf and cursed him internally. Although she understood that William couldn't possibly push the girls away because he might hurt them, seeing dozens of pretty girls clinging to her lover was making her feel irritated. "Will, what's this? Are you planning to cheat on me?" A cold yet seductive voice reached William's and the crowd's ears. All of them turned to look at the entrance of the girls' dormitory, where a very sensuous beauty stood with a sweet smile. "Your Highness, how can I possibly cheat on you?" William replied as if he was wronged. "These beautiful ladies and I were merely discussing how beautiful the weather was. Am I right, everyone?" "Yes." The girls giggled because of the way William replied to Princess Sidonie. His teasing voice tickled their heartstrings, and they felt regret that they hadn't met a young man just like him. Chiffon, who was standing beside Princess Sidonie, looked at the crowd before shifting her attention to the half-elf who was surrounded by women. The little girl was currently licking a lollipop, as she stared unblinkingly at the red-headed teenager who had declared to become her caretaker. For a brief moment, something flashed within the depth of her clear and beautiful eyes. It didn't last long and immediately disappeared in the next second. However, her foot subconsciously stepped forward. Before she knew it, she was already walking in William's direction. The girls who saw Chiffon walking towards them immediately backed away. Chiffon was notoriously known as the trash eater, and none of the noble ladies wanted to be near her. They were afraid that if they were to breathe the same air around her, they would breathe in the stink of the garbage that she regularly ate. Thanks to Chiffon's deterrence, the girls who were clinging on William hastily retreated, leaving the half-elf all alone. The little glutton reached out her hand and held William's left hand. She didn't say anything and simply licked the lollipop inside her mouth. Chiffon didn't understand why, but the moment she held William's hand, the lollipop inside her mouth suddenly tasted sweeter compared to before. Princess Sidonie shook her head as she, too, walked towards William. The half-elf then bent his arm to allow the beautiful princess to hold on into it. "Shall we go?" William asked. Princess Sidonie didn't say anything. Instead, she reached out to hold the back of William's head and pulled him close to her. Right in front of all the girls at the entrance of the girls' dormitory, Princess Sidonie kissed William's lips. The half-elf was surprised by the princess' action, but played along with his lover's wishes. The two kissed and kissed and kissed more, making the girls looking at them blush in excitement and anticipation. After a while, their kiss finally ended. Princess Sidonie leaned on William's chest, while the latter wrapped his right arm on her back. "Let's go, darling," Princess Sidonie said. "It's time for our date." William nodded as he guided Chiffon and Princess Sidonie outside the gates of the girls' dormitory. Ian followed behind them without a word like a retainer. She had already had her fun with William earlier, so she didn't mind letting Princess Sidonie have her turn. With two beauties in each hand, and a handsome retainer behind his back, the half-elf entered the teleportation gate that would bring them to Silverwind City. Their destination, the Whispering Wind Tavern. A place where the noble students gathered for fun, and to gossip about the recent events that had happened within the academy. Located on the top floor of the tavern, Prince Jason, along with the other members of the Creator royal family gathered. They were seated at a table exclusively for them, while their peers were seated on tables around them. The atmosphere was very lively because the students were currently in a festive mood. Their assessment test had just ended, and all of them wanted to enjoy themselves, while the school was still on break. Everyone had smiles on their faces, but among them, a certain prince was seething inside his heart. "Damned half-elf," Prince Jason cursed internally. "Why must you always get in my way? You should have stayed in the countryside, you plebeian." Prince Jason had hated William ever since he had placed the collar of wisteria on Princess Sidonie's neck. He had also seen the way that the beautiful princess looked at the half-elf and it filled his heart with jealousy and envy. Unknown to Prince Jason, the first prince of the Creator Empire was observing his every action in a subtle manner. Prince Maximilian was not a schemer, but he was a witty individual. He knew when to attack, and when to defend. He was just waiting for the perfect moment to strike and make sure that his target would be unable to recover from the devastating blow that he had prepared. Chapter 535, My business is none of your business. "The two of you really made a scene back there," Ian said as they rode a carriage that would bring them to the Whispering Wind Tavern. "Was that really necessary, Princess?" Princess Sidonie, who was currently resting her head on William's shoulder, smiled sweetly at Ian. "Of course it is necessary," Princess Sidonie replied. "I need to make sure that those nobles know that Will is my lover. This way, it will deter those who intend to lay their hands on him. Isn't that right, Will?" William hummed as he agreed to his lover's words. Right now, he had his hands full with the princess and Ash. Adding a dozen pretty noble girls to the list of his lovers was not part of the reason why he came to the Creator Empire. Although what Princess Sidonie did was very bold and unexpected, it was also very effective. When the news of their public display of affection spread inside the academy, the noble ladies would probably back off, in fear of angering her. Chiffon, who was holding William's left hand, licked the lollipop in her hand in silence. She didn't join in the conversation and merely listened. For her, being around the half-elf was enough. Since William had declared that he would be her caretaker, the little girl decided to stick close to him to avoid the stares of ridicule and contempt that were always sent in her direction, whenever she walked around the academy. A few minutes later, the carriage finally arrived at their destination. A very enthusiastic staff greeted Princess Sidonie and personally guided her and her entourage towards the top floor, where the luxurious accommodations for the high-ranking nobles of the empire were waiting for them. "Today seems to be a special day, Your Highness," the staff said with a smile. "Aside from your presence, the other princes and princesses of the empire are also here." Princess Sidonie smiled as she told the staff that today was indeed a special day. However, she didn't divulge any details and acted mysterious. The staff member knew better than to seek information from the royal family, so he didn't pry any further. "Please, enjoy your stay, Your Highness," the staff member said as he opened a luxurious door. As soon as the door was opened, the sound of laughter and merrymaking reached their ears. Only when Princess Sidonie stepped inside the room did people start to notice her presence. The staff led the princess to an empty table near the balcony where a scenic view of the city could be seen. William played his part and pulled the chair out to allow the princess to sit. He did the same for Chiffon, while Ian pulled a chair out for him to sit on. Right now, Ian played the role of the retainer. Since she had plenty of experience serving EST in the Helan Kingdom, her actions were very natural. The nobles that were being rowdy earlier quieted down a bit as they chatted while paying attention to the beautiful princess and her lover, who was currently the top ranker of the entire academy. Princess Sidonie and William didn't pay them any attention and gave the waiter their order. After the waiter left, the place returned to its lively atmosphere, but everyone still perked their ears for any juicy gossip that Princess Sidonie and William might spill as they chatted inside the tavern. Prince Jason clenched his fist from under the table as he stared at William. Princess Vanessa, who always had her eyes on her prince, followed his gaze. That was when she saw William and Princess Sidonie talking casually to each other. As a member of the royal family, he had known about the half-elf that had traveled to their empire as part of Princess Sidonie's entourage. She was also aware that the collar that the beautiful princess wore came from William as well. Although the half-elf was indeed handsome, Princess Vanessa only had Prince Jason in her heart. The princess also felt slightly jealous of Princess Sidonie. She couldn't count how many times she had dreamed that her beloved cousin would attach a collar on her neck and claim her as his wife. Unfortunately, she didn't have the courage to tell anyone about this dream, in fear that they would laugh at her for aiming for the moon. "Cousin, can you tell me more about that young man, William?" Prince Maximilian asked Prince Jason, who was looking at William with a calm expression on his face. "Him? He's nothing more than a shepherd who tended goats and sheep in the countryside," Prince Jason replied. "There's nothing special about him." "Really? You call someone who managed to gain over 6 million merit points nothing special?" Prince Maximilian chuckled. "If there's nothing special about him, then both of us are just pebbles on the ground. Dear cousin, I think your judgment is clouded by jealousy right now." Prince Jason forcefully tore his gaze from William and shifted it to the first prince of the Creator Empire. He knew that Prince Maximilian was just provoking him, so he decided to show him that he was not someone that the latter could step on lightly. "What do you mean by that, cousin?" Prince Jason asked. Prince Maximilian smiled as he met his cousin's gaze straight on. "You are in love with our cousin, Princess Sidonie, are you going to deny it?" Vanessa felt her chest tighten when she heard Prince Maximilian's words. Although this possibility had crossed her mind in the past, she tossed it aside completely. "Why? It was because of the collar on Princess Sidonie's neck. The Creator royal family had a custom that any member of the royal family that had been given a collar, would become the lifelong lover of the person that gave it to them. One could even say that it was the unwritten law of the royal family, and no one had challenged this tradition since the empire had been established. Because of this, Princess Vanessa managed to curb her jealousy because she knew that her beautiful cousin was already taken by another man. However, this idea she had tossed aside was now brought back to the surface by Prince Maximilian, who had a confident smile on his face. "My business is none of your business," Prince Jason replied. "Instead of minding my affairs, you should focus on your own, dear cousin." "Oh my, it seems that I hit a sore spot." "Well, it's fine if you don't want to admit it." Prince Maximilian chuckled. "It's already written on your face." Prince Jason snorted before drinking the wine in his cup. He then made a gesture for the waiter assigned on their table to fill it up again. Princess Vanessa's hand under the table trembled. Even though her beloved cousin didn't answer Prince Maximilian's question, his actions already spoke volumes. "No, this can't be." Princess Vanessa felt an ache on her chest as her unique ability confirmed her suspicion. "He's in love with her." Princess Vanessa had the unique ability to know if people were telling the truth or not. Her parents had strictly forbidden her from sharing this secret with anyone because this was a trump card that they could use during critical moments. Since people could lie anytime they wanted, they needed someone with the ability to discern the truth from what was false. This ability had already helped Princess Vanessa's parents secure some merit for the kingdom, and made Emperor Leonidas very pleased. "What's wrong, Vanessa?" Princess Amanda asked. "Your face is very pale. Did something happen?" I think I drank too much wine, big sister," Princess Vanessa stuttered. Although Princess Amanda and Princess Hannah were not her blood-related sisters, Vanessa had always referred to them as big sisters, and the two princesses treated her like their own. Princess Vanessa's twin brother, Prince Rainier, looked at his sister with worry. "Vanessa, do you want to return to the academy?" Prince Rainier inquired. "I can take you back if you're not feeling well." "Sorry, everyone," Princess Vanessa lowered her head. "I think I will return to the academy. I'm not feeling well." Princess Amanda patted the younger princess' head. "I knew that it might be a bit early for you to drink wine, but I still allowed it because today was a day for celebration. I shouldn't have forced you earlier." "I'm sorry, Vanessa." It's fine, big sister," Princess Vanessa stuttered. "As a member of the royal family, I have to get used to it sooner or later." Prince Rainier had already stood up from his seat and walked towards his twin sister. He was quite worried about her condition, so he immediately suggested that they return to the academy in order to allow her to rest. The twins left the tavern, accompanied by their retainers. Their sudden departure didn't decrease the liveliness of the surroundings, because Princess Vanessa and Prince Rainier had always kept a low profile. They were not like Prince Maximilian or Prince Jason that the younger generation looked up to because of the accomplishments that they had achieved in their age. For them, the twins were only part of the Creator royal family and nothing else. Instead of looking at what you can't get, why not look at the one who only has eyes for you? Prince Maximilian muttered. Although he seemed to be just saying random things, Prince Jason understood that the first prince's words were targeted at him. Prince Jason pretended not to hear Prince Maximilian's words and stood up from the table. He then made his way towards William's and Princess Sidonie's table, while carrying a wine cup in his hand. Clearly, he was not satisfied with the way the two were chatting with each other, and he intended to put a stop to it, by force if he had to. Chapter 536, Sweeter Than Lollipops. Inside the Creator Royal Palace. "You've been praising him a lot since you returned here to the Empire," Emperor Leonidas said. "At first I thought that you were just exaggerating. But now, I'm starting to think that your praise is well deserved." Evexius, the Grand Archmage of the Creator Empire, bowed his head respectfully. "Your Majesty, that boy is someone we should bring to our side. His potential is limitless." Emperor Leonidas tapped the side of his armchair as he looked outside the window. He didn't agree or disagree with Evexius' proposal, but the Grand Archmage knew that the Emperor had agreed with him. That domain is going to open in 3 months. Emperor Leonidas stared at Evexius. The top finalists in the tournament will participate in exploring that domain. If he becomes one of the finalists, I will consider your suggestion. Evexius nodded. Your Majesty, I only have one concern. Yes. It's Prince Jason. He is in love with Princess Sidonie. I'm afraid that he might do something reckless and provoke William. Emperor Leonidas hummed as he leaned on his chair. You may go, Evexius. Whatever happens between Jason and that boy, William, is something that they have to settle between themselves. Why, Your Majesty, you mean? Nothing is settled yet. It will depend on both of their performances in the upcoming tournament. Also, His Excellency Aemon is expecting that boy's visit to his temple. Evexius frowned, but didn't say anything. It was not his place to ask what their god wanted from the boy. The only thing he cared about was the continuous prosperity of the Creator Empire. Hey, Shepherd, looks like you did well in the assessment test, Prince Jason said as he walked up towards William's and Princess Sidonie's table. The half-elf turned his head to look at the prince before raising one of his eyebrows. And you are? William asked. The corner of Prince Jason's lips twitched because of the half-elf's unexpected reply. They were currently in the Creator Empire, and he was its 5th prince. Also, they had met several times back in the southern continent, and William was pretending that he didn't know him? Absurd. Princess Sidonie lowered her head, because she was doing her best to suppress a giggle from escaping her lips. William really knew how to get on people's nerves. The half-elf had probably known that Prince Jason was after his woman. Since that was the case, he didn't need to be civil with him. Even if he was the prince of the Creator Empire. Surely you jest. Prince Jason said with a smile. How can you possibly not know me? Are you famous then? William asked back. I don't really know who you are. Can you please introduce yourself to me? The lively tavern became silent as everyone listened to William's and Prince Jason's conversation. Everyone was thinking the same thing. How could you possibly not know the name of our prince? Suddenly a loud laughter reverberated inside the room. The first prince of the Creator Empire, Prince Maximilian, laughed heartily as he looked at William from his table. This was the first time that he had seen someone toying with Prince Jason, and it raised his impression of the red-headed teenager drastically. William, was it? Prince Maximilian raised his wine cup after his laughter ended. I toast to your good health. William raised his own wine cup with a smile. It is my honor for Prince Maximilian to know my lowly name. May your highness live a long and happy life. Cheers. Both teenagers raised their wine cup and drank its contents happily. There was a famous saying that the enemy of your enemy is your friend. Since it was very obvious that both of them treated Prince Jason as their enemy, they would stick together as allies. Are you still going to act dumb, Shepherd? Prince Jason inquired. You know the name of the first prince, and you don't know mine. He was currently doing his best to stop himself from throwing his wine cup at the irritating half-elf who was mocking him on purpose. Sorry, but I only know famous people, William replied with an apologetic expression. Prince Maximilian is the first prince of the Creator Empire and held the highest record in the previous assessment test. A celebrity like him is well known by everyone. Let's go back to the topic. Who are you again? Another loud laughter from the first prince erupted and it grated in Prince Jason's ears. If not for the fact that there were many witnesses inside the tavern, he would have already engaged William in a duel. In the end, the 5th prince of the Creator Empire held his irritation back and decided to play along with the half-elf's game. Listen, I am the 5th prince of the Creator Empire, Prince Jason said with veiled contempt. Jason Hal Creator. Chiffon, you should eat more vegetables, instead of eating only meat. William placed a few carrot sticks on Chiffon's plate, while the latter nodded her head obediently. I want you to grow up as a beautiful lady in the future, so you need to eat a balanced diet. Do you understand? Yes, big brother, Chiffon replied. I will do as you say. Good girl. What did you say your name was again? William asked as he shifted his attention back to Prince Jason, whose hand was already on the hilt of his dagger. You, bastard! Stop messing around! Prince Jason shouted and his aura exploded around him. A powerful gust of wind blew away the tables near him, including the nobles' tables, who were watching the scene with dumbfounded faces. The fifth prince was about to lunge towards William to beat the crap out of him, but two people grabbed both of his arms and held him in place. Cousin, get a hold of yourself! Prince Maximilian warned as he held Prince Jason's right arm firmly. Remember where we are. If news of this spreads, your reputation will suffer. The third prince of the Creator Empire, Kevin Hal Creator, grabbed Prince Jason's left arm to prevent him from making a bigger scene. He's right, cousin, Prince Kevin commented. If the Emperor got wind of this, you might get punished for endangering the lives of the other nobles. Prince Kevin had already placed a magical circle around the three of them to prevent anyone from listening to their conversations. Although there were some people that were capable of lip reading, since most noble children weren't taught this skill by their parents. Prince Jason forcefully reined in his anger, and stopped struggling. He gave the half-elf one last glare before telling his cousins to release him. Prince Maximilian and Prince Kevin let go of his arms, but remained where they were. Although they would like to see Prince Jason make a fool of himself, it would reflect badly on them if news of the fifth prince rampage was to reach the ears of the Emperor and their parents. Since they were at the scene, they were duty-bound to stop Prince Jason's reckless actions to preserve the dignity of the royal family. Not doing anything would definitely make the Emperor become disappointed in them, and this was something that they didn't want to happen. Prince Jason turned around to leave the tavern before he totally lost control of his remaining reason. His lackeys hurriedly followed behind him, but none of them dared to talk to him, or walk near him. Only fools would do that, and they were not fools. You really are something, Sir William. Prince Maximilian praised. I have heard great things about you. The hero that had protected his kingdom from an elven invasion, truly a man of the times. I wish that I can be someone like you. Ha ha ha. You praise me too much, Your Highness, William replied as he scratched his head. Feel free to praise me more. The corner of Prince Maximilian's, and Prince Kevin's, lips twitched after hearing William's reply. The first prince thought that he could settle the conflict by praising the red-headed teenager. However, he underestimated William's shamelessness. What a shameless person! This was the thought of everyone in the room, including the two princes, who were now regretting their earlier action of stopping Prince Jason from beating the crap out of William. Princess Sidonie and Ian exchanged a glance as their bodies shook from trying to hold back their laughter. Chiffon, on the other hand, was busy eating the carrot sticks that William had given her. Although she preferred eating William's lollipops, any food in between was fine with her. Big brother sure is nice, Chiffon thought as he looked at the half-elf who was now putting some meat pieces on her plate. Is this what it's like to have a big brother? Chiffon had older brothers, and sisters, as well. However, they paid her no attention. They avoided her at all times, and didn't even want to be in the same place as her. While she was reminiscing these depressing thoughts, she felt a hand brush the top of her head. What's wrong? Are you not hungry anymore? William asked in a teasing voice. Chiffon raised her head to look at the half-elf who was looking at her with a gentle gaze. Suddenly a thought came to her mind as her heart beat wildly inside her chest. I wonder what Big Brother tastes like, Chiffon thought. Will he be as sweet as the lollipops he gives me daily, or will he be sweeter? The little girl didn't know the answers to her question. She hoped that one day, she would get to taste it. The taste of the half-elf who was currently patting her head with a smile. Chapter 537, Is this what it feels like to have a pet? A week passed after the assessment test and things finally settled back inside the academy. However, after the result of the test came out, it brought an unbelievable change to a certain class of the third-year division. Look, it's the Triple S. Damn, this guy's again. Just because they became the top class, they started to become arrogant. The nerve of these bastards. Stanley, the leader of the group, walked arrogantly with his head raised high. Stefan and Scott walked beside him and both of the boys were smiling. Do you hear that? Stanley asked in a voice that was loud enough for the students to hear. I do. Scott chuckled. It's the sound of sore losers. The students who heard their words feel indignant because the losers of the past were now strutting on their high horse. Shut up, Scott, one of the students of Class C shouted. You only got lucky because of the princess fiancé. You and your class are only riding on his coattails. Pfft. Stanley sniggered as he eyed the student that was looking at them with disdain. You don't understand. From the very beginning this was part of our strategy. What strategy? Stop spouting nonsense. That's right. You only just got lucky. If not for Sir William, all of you would still be the worst class in this grade. Jeers and taunts flew in every direction. The spacious hallway that led to the classes of the third year was now crowded with students who couldn't accept the new status quo. Stanley, let's not waste our time on these sore losers. Scott chuckled. This is why they will never raise their ranks. All of them are stupid. What did you say? You want to fight? Come. Show us what you can do, you bootlicker. The crowd circled the three boys, but before they could do anything, a friendly voice called out from behind the crowd. Good morning, everyone. What is all the commotion? William asked as he looked at the crowd that was blocking his way. Chiffon was standing beside him, while licking a lollipop. Everyone immediately recognized him and made a path for him to walk through. After the assessment test, William had become the idol of the third-year division. The girls adored him, and the guys wanted to be like him. Although he was not part of the royal family, or a member of the nobility, right now, William's status in the academy wouldn't lose to the princes of the Creator Empire. Sir William. These mofos are saying that Class F's rise in the ranks is due to their strategy. They're lying, right? Sir William, I really admire you, I really do, but these bastards are taking credit for all of your hard work. It irritates me. Yes. They even act as if they were the ones responsible for bringing Class F to the top. Several more complaints were hurled in William's direction. A few minutes later, the half-elf raised his right hand to tell everyone to stop. They are telling the truth, William stated. If not for Stanley, Class F would not be in the spot we are now. It was all thanks to him that everything turned out the way it did. Everyone shifted their attention to the good-looking boy, who seemed to be waiting for this exact moment. Stanley flicked his light brown hair with his hand and sighed. This is what I've been trying to tell them, but they wouldn't listen. Scott, the chubby boy, shook his head helplessly as he scanned the faces of the crowd that had surrounded them from all sides. Sometimes, the truth is hard to believe, but it is still the truth, Scott said sagely. Even if Sir William managed to gain nearly 7 million points, that would not be enough for an entire class to reach the number 1 spot. Stanley nodded his head. This is what you call team effort. We just played our role to ensure that all the classes wouldn't know the plan we had decided on beforehand. Stefan, who was just listening at the side, was looking down at his shoes. He didn't dare raise his head because he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to keep a straight face from all the BLLSHT that his two close friends were saying. That's right. It was a team effort, William agreed as he walked towards his 3 classmates. He walked while holding Chiffon's hand because he wanted everyone to change their opinion of the little girl whom they had labeled trash eater. Because everyone was focusing on William, they didn't notice the little girl that was by his side. Only after they had regained their senses did they recognize the pink-haired girl whom they had mocked and ridiculed behind her back. "Sir William, why are you with the trash eater?" one of the boys from Class D asked. "Who knows what she ate for breakfast? Maybe she just went to the garbage dump to eat some rotten food that the kitchen had thrown out. Someone like her is not worthy to be by your side, Sir William," a pretty girl stated. "Having her around will only dirty your good name. Trash eater! Get away from Sir William." The students shifted their attention on the pink-haired girl whose body trembled from their piercing glares. William pulled her close to him in a protective embrace as he glared back at those who were ridiculing his ward. "From this day onward, let it be known that this girl will be under my care," William declared. "She will no longer go to the garbage dump to eat, nor will she sleep in the stables. So, please, everyone, stop calling her trash eater." The students glanced at each other and looked back at Chiffon with a complicated gaze. Her head was currently buried in William's chest, and the half-elf could feel something wet and warm staining his clothes. William's arms held the fragile girl in his embrace as she cried silently. His heart ached because Chiffon was such an adorable and lovable girl. For her to suffer this injustice, due to the sin she carried, left a bitter taste in William's mouth. "Everyone, what's going on here?" Professor Yuan, the homeroom professor of Class F, parted the sea of students that were littering in the hallway. "Classes are about to start," Professor Yuan announced. "Please, return to your rooms and wait for your professors." The students gave William, and the little girl in his embrace, one last glance before returning to their rooms. Soon, only William, Chiffon, and the Triple S remained in the hallway. "Let's go to our room," Professor Yuan stated. "Mr. Ainsworth, I don't mind if you come a bit late, but make sure to come to class. Do you understand?" "Yes, Professor." "Good." Professor Yuan herded the other three boys into the classroom, while William patted the head of the crying girl who was hugging him tightly. "It's fine," William said softly. "They will change their minds soon. Chiffon is so cute and adorable, I'm sure that after a month or two, people will start to approach you to become your friends." "I don't need friends," Chiffon replied. "I just need Will, Ian, Sydney, B1 and B2. I don't need anyone else." William's hand that was rubbing Chiffon's head stopped when he heard the little girl's reply. Him, Ian, and Princess Sydney were understandable. However, what surprised him was that Chiffon thought of B1 and B2 as friends. Sensing the hand that was patting her head had stopped, Chiffon raised her hand and grabbed it. She then made the motion of patting her head, using William's hand. The half-elf's heart almost melted due to Chiffon's cute gesture, so he immediately returned brushing the little girl's head until she finally calmed down. "This is bad," William thought. "Is this what it feels like to have a pet?" He had never had a pet before, but being around Chiffon was like taking care of a small adorable pet that followed him around. 10 minutes later, William and Chiffon entered their classroom. The stains on his uniform had already been dried using magic power. He had also used his handkerchief to wipe the tear stains off from Chiffon's face and used a bit of water magic to wash them away. Ian had returned to Class A to watch over Princess Sydney. Her birthday was only 10 days away, and the celebration would be held in Silverwind Academy's Grand Ballroom. Originally, it was supposed to be in the Royal Palace. However, after thinking things through, Emperor Leonidas declared that his granddaughter would be celebrating her birthday in the Academy. Professor Yuan stood in front of everyone and made an announcement. "Everyone, 10 days from now, we will celebrate Princess Sydney's birthday party here in the Academy," Professor Yuan explained. "I want all of you to be on your best behaviors. I know that your heads are in cloud 9 right now due to our current rank. However, remember that we will not always be at the top. Arrogance without the strength to back it up will only cause your downfall. Remember that what goes around, comes around. Don't wait for the time when your arrogant words will be sent right back into your faces. This is true, especially for both of you, Stanley and Scott. I've been getting several complaints in the staff room. The two of you better behave, or else. Professor Yuan smiled, but his eyes screamed of murder. Stanley and Scott immediately nodded their heads in understanding. William shook his head helplessly because what Professor Yuan said was true. The entirety of Class F had suddenly become arrogant after becoming the top class in the third grade division. The students of Class F had been bullied many times in the past. After having a taste of success, they suddenly felt like they were superior to others. It made them feel that they now had the qualifications to return the favor to those that had wronged them. However, this would not be good in the long run. Fear leads to anger. Anger would lead to hate, and hate would lead to suffering, William thought as he remembered the quote he once had seen in a movie back on Earth. While the half-elf was in the middle of his thoughts, Professor Yuan continued his explanation. A month and a half after Princess Sidonie's birthday, the Silverwing tournament will begin, Professor Yuan announced. As you may already know, the winner of this tournament will have one of their wishes granted by the Emperor. This is not compulsory. Those who want to register for the tournament, make sure to tell me a week before the tournament starts. Professor Yuan scanned the crowd. His gaze lingered at William for a few seconds before looking at the other students of his class. Right now, all the professors in the academy had their eyes on William. He was currently the dark horse in the tournament, and everyone wanted to see the power of the teenager, who was now hailed as one of the strongest students in Silverwind Academy. Chapter 538, Ian's and Chiffon's Secret. The days passed swiftly and the staff of the academy busied themselves with the preparations for Princess Sidonie's birthday party. Several servants from the royal palace had been sent to the academy to help, and even the head butler of the palace was mobilized into action. Everyone, Her Highness' birthday is just 2 days away, Michaelis, the head butler of the Creator Royal Palace, said in a commanding tone. I don't want any mishaps to happen, so please, do your best. Do I make myself clear? Yes. This was not the first time that a member of the royal family had celebrated their birthday in Silverwind Academy. Everyone already knew the arrangements that needed to be made, so the preparation was going at a smooth pace. While everyone was doing their best to make her happy, Princess Sidonie was currently inside the beach villa, on the 10th floor of the Dungeon of Atlantis. As the day of her 18th birthday drew near, the power inside her body was starting to awaken. It was to the point that William had to help her with maintenance every 2 days, to prevent it from breaking out completely. Her voice tinged with pleasure sounded inside the room, as William absorbed the power of her divinity inside the gem embedded in his chest. William had to admit that if he didn't have the incubus job class, he would be hard-pressed to help his lover alleviate the burning desire that was threatening to consume her. Darling, I promise that I will not let you rest on your birthday next month, Morgana vowed as she lovingly kissed William's lips. After their passionate kiss ended, the beautiful succubus pressed her sinful body against her beloved before whispering in William's ears. I swore long ago that I will have your babies. I will not let you run away. William kissed Morgana's neck before replying to her. I don't have plans on running away, William whispered. Let's fight for 30 rounds if you like. The winner will get to order the loser to do one thing. What do you say? Sounds good. Sidonie is also in agreement. Are you ready to lose, darling? Silly girl. Let's see if you will be able to brag after I'm done with you. The two once again frolicked on the bed, not caring about what was happening in the outside world. Ian was currently taking care of Chiffon. Due to William's declaration that he would take care of her, the students of the academy no longer called her trash eater in the open. Especially since they were aware that the girl no longer visited the garbage dump since she started hanging around William and Princess Sidonie. This change in her routine made the other students almost forget the things that she had done in the past. Also, Chiffon was not only well fed, but also well taken care of. Her uniforms were clean, her hair smooth and silky, and her skin was white and radiant. After weeks of rehabilitation, the pink-haired girl that everyone ridiculed was like a blooming flower that carried the scent of jasmines. Even the boys in the academy were starting to take notice of this cute and adorable girl, who seemed to have transformed from a caterpillar into a beautiful butterfly. There were even high-ranking nobles who were starting to think that she would be an ideal lover after a few years, once she had matured. A/N, Chiffon's race and age are only known by a select few, namely William, the Emperor Leonidas, and Evexius. Everyone else thinks of her as a 12-year-old girl because of her cuteness and height. Just in case any of you had forgotten, Chiffon is older than William by a year. She likes to call William Big Brother because she wanted to be spoiled by one, but her blood-related brothers were scum, so there has never been an opportunity. As Ian and Chiffon strolled around the academy, the little girl seemed spaced out. Although she didn't mind being around Ian, she still preferred to hold William's hand. Although it felt rough to the touch, her heart felt at peace whenever they were together. Also, her stock of chocolate lollipops grew by the day. William was able to create 50 of each lollipop type, except for the pink lollipop. The effect of the chocolate lollipop lasts for 3 days. Even if Chiffon were to chew one, it wasn't much of a problem. Chewing the chocolate lollipop made her not feel any hunger for a day. Right now, she had hundreds of them in her storage ring, so she felt at ease. A/N, since she is the sin of gluttony, the effects of the chocolate lollipop is lessened. Instead of 3 days, its effect lasted only a day. Chiffon was now also able to enjoy regular food like normal people. Back then, she didn't really have the luxury of taking the time to enjoy the taste of the food, because her hunger had clouded her other senses. Sometimes, she would wake up in the middle of the night in tears because she had a bad dream. A dream where her current life, and the happiness she was experiencing, was only an illusion. If not for the fact that she slept beside Princess Sidonie every night, the pink-haired girl might have suffered from a nervous breakdown. She didn't want to return to those dark and difficult days when she had to fend for herself, alone. Chiffon would rather stay in the dream and never wake up, if the reality that awaited her when she opened her eyes was a nightmare that she had to live with for the rest of her life. "Ian, when will Big Brother return?" Chiffon asked as the two sat on one of the benches overlooking the black giant monument in the plaza. "Don't worry. He will be back soon." Ian patted Chiffon's head. "Why? Do you miss him already?" Chiffon nodded before looking at the giant monument where the names of the most outstanding students of the academy could be seen. William's name shone brightly at the very top of the monument, and Chiffon looked at it with a pout. Although she knew that William was Princess Sidonie's fiancé, she couldn't help but feel envious of the beautiful princess because she had what she didn't possess. When the two kissed in front of the girls' dormitory many days ago, she felt a slight pain in her chest. She didn't understand why she felt that way. After leaving the Whispering Wind Tavern, she had consulted William about the pain she had felt back then. What the half-elf did back then was to place his hand over Chiffon's head and close his eyes. Chiffon felt a slight tingling sensation as William activated his life mage job class and used a diagnostic scan on the little girl's body to check if there was something wrong with her. The test results showed that everything was fine, and Chiffon was perfectly healthy. The pink-haired girl trusted William with all of her heart, so when the half-elf told her that there was nothing wrong with her, she thought that it was just a figment of her imagination. However, whenever the image of the princess kissing William appeared in her mind, the slight pain returned and it made Chiffon feel uncomfortable. "Ian, does your chest hurt sometimes?" Chiffon asked. "Mine hurts from time to time." Ian frowned, and decided to ask Chiffon more about the pain she was experiencing. Although she wasn't an expert in medical knowledge, she still knew the basics on how to deal with simple illnesses. "What kind of pain do you feel?" Ian asked. "Is it a dull pain, a sharp pain, or a stinging pain?" Chiffon placed her hand over her chest and closed her eyes. She recalled Princess Sidonie kissing William and felt a dull ache spreading in her chest. "It's a dull pain," Chiffon replied. "If I hold the image long enough, I feel like I will suffocate from the pain. Image? What image? The image of Sydney kissing Big Brother. The pain, it's suffocating. It's hard to breathe. Ian's body stiffened as she looked at the little girl beside her. She then pulled her close and gave her a hug, while silently cursing the half-elf who was spreading his pheromones everywhere. Stop thinking about it, Ian said softly. Nothing is wrong with you. The pain you are feeling is normal. Sometimes, I feel like that, too. You do? Chiffon opened her eyes and looked at Ian in surprise. Do you also feel pain when you see Princess Sydney kiss Big Brother? No, Ian firmly shook her head. However, back then, I also felt a similar feeling. Yes. In the past, when William was together with Wendy, Ian felt the same. That dull ache in her chest as she looked at the lovey-dovey couple who were blatantly showing their affection in public. Is this pain really normal? Yes. In truth. Ian was on the fence about whether to tell the little girl the truth or not. Maybe it's just a crush, Ian thought. Since William is the first person who treated her kindly, she feels a certain attachment and like for him. The moment that attention is diverted to other people, she unconsciously feels jealousy. Ian sighed internally and cursed the red-headed teenager a second time. Right now, she couldn't tell William what the little girl was going through. There was a possibility that William would distance himself from Chiffon, in order to prevent the little girl from developing feelings for him. She knew that if that were to happen, Chiffon might close up her heart to people and return to the state she was in the past. Ian didn't want to see that happen because she found the little girl too pitiful. Chiffon, don't tell anyone about this, okay? Ian said as she held Chiffon's hand firmly. Not even to Will. This will be our secret. Can you promise me that? Chiffon nodded her head. Although she didn't understand why she must keep the pain she was feeling a secret from William, something inside her was telling her that Ian was right. Then, what should I do if I feel the same pain again? Chiffon inquired as she stared straight at Ian's eyes. Ian met her gaze steadily and smiled. It's really simple. Whenever you feel that kind of pain, all you need to do is. Chiffon listened to Ian's suggestions and closed her eyes. As soon as she followed Ian's advice, the pain in her chest disappeared and was replaced by warm and happy feelings. The corner of the little girl's lips rose very slightly. It was very hard to detect, so Ian wasn't able to see it. Ian, you are right, Chiffon said with her eyes still closed. I no longer feel any pain. I feel warm and safe. Ian hummed. Ian then hugged the little girl more firmly. Ian sincerely wished that Chiffon would find happiness in her life. Just like how she found her happiness, in the embrace of the person she loved. Chapter 539, My taste in men is simply amazing. William looked at the mirror while fixing his hair. It was 6 in the evening, and the party in the Academy's grand ballroom was already in full swing. The half-elf didn't intend to go early because he didn't want to become the center of attention. His short exchange with Prince Jason had been a juicy gossip among the nobles, and many were looking forward to seeing how he would conduct himself at the birthday party. If he had his way, he wouldn't bother joining the festivities. However, Sydney had asked him to go, so he had no choice but to go. William looked at his reflection in the mirror and smiled. Ladies, prepare to get heartbroken, William said as he made a suave pose in front of the mirror. This, sir, is already taken. Ian, who was in the same room as William, shook her head helplessly. She already knew that William could be childish at times, and she was helpless against it. Let's go, Ian said as she approached the red-headed teenager who looked very handsome in his suit. Sydney and Chiffon are already there. Let's not keep them waiting. William nodded. He glanced at the mirror one last time before heading out of the room. Ian played her role as William's retainer, and walked a few steps behind him. They had already agreed upon a few things on what they would do at the party, and one of them was lobbying a certain prince that was trying to get his hands on Princess Sidonie. It didn't take long before they arrived at their destination. Several royal guards patrolled the surrounding area to ensure that nothing out of place would transpire during this important event. As soon as William stepped inside the ballroom, Chamberlain announced his name, which made everyone look in his direction. William walked with grace, that wouldn't lose to the members of the royal family. He had already equipped the Sun Knight job class, which greatly enhanced his charisma, making the ladies that looked at him giggle in delight. Princess Vanessa looked at the half-elf from where she was seated with a serious expression. She had also heard what had happened in the tavern after she and her twin brother had left. The princess couldn't believe that someone would treat her beloved that way, and it made her dislike the handsome half-elf who seemed to be enjoying the attention that everyone was giving him. "Brother, do you know anything about him?" Princess Vanessa asked her brother, Prince Rainier, using telepathy. Princess Rainier glanced at William's direction before answering her twin. "I know very little of him. The only thing I know is that he is from the southern continent. He was the one that led the resistance against the elves, who tried to conquer his kingdom. Since they were born as twins, they shared this unique ability to communicate with each other, as long as they were within 5 miles away from each other. This was quite similar to how Ash could talk to William using the gem that was embedded in his chest. The only difference was that Ash could contact William even though they were miles away from each other. As long as both of them were in the same continent, the two lovers could talk to each other wherever, and whenever, they wanted. Princess Vanessa nodded her head. She also didn't know much about the half-elf, but one thing was clear. He is Big Brother Jason's enemy, Princess Vanessa thought as she looked in the direction where the 5th prince of the Creator Empire was currently at. Prince Jason was at the opposite table, along with Prince Maximilian, Prince Kevin, Princess Sidonie, and the girl that everyone in the academy referred to as Trash Eater. The pink-haired girl was wearing a pink ballroom dress that brought out her cuteness. She was like an adorable doll that made everyone attracted to her. Fortunately, this doll didn't know how to smile. If she did, her charm would probably be as destructive as Princess Sidonie's. The birthday girl was wearing a red princess ball gown, which enhanced her natural beauty. Her reddish-brown hair was neatly arranged, like that of a bride that was about to be married off to a prince of the neighboring kingdom. A tinge of myrth appeared in her mesmerizing hazel eyes, the moment she saw her lover walk in her direction. From within their shared mindscape, Morgana squealed in delight because the half-elf was wearing the clothes that she had personally chosen for the party. She had already memorized William's body size, so it was very easy for her to pick a suit that suited him perfectly. "I knew it. My taste in men is simply amazing." "That's our taste in men, big sister." "Fine." While the two were giggling inside their mindscape, William finally arrived at their table and bowed courteously. "Happy birthday, Princess," William said as he looked at the princess with gentle eyes. "May you always find happiness in your life for many more years to come." "Thank you, Sir William," Princess Sidonie replied. "Please, enjoy the party." "I shall, Your Highness." William bowed his head once more before shifting his attention to the adorable pink-haired girl seated beside Princess Sidonie. "You look very cute in that dress, Chiffon," William grinned. "Really?" Chiffon asked half in doubt. It was Princess Sidonie that had picked the dress that she was wearing at the party. At first, she refused to dress up and insisted on only wearing her uniform. However, when the princess mentioned that William would definitely praise Chiffon if she dressed up, the latter reluctantly agreed to Princess Sidonie's arrangement. "Yes, you're very cute." William nodded in affirmation. "Well then, shall we go?" William extended his hand to Chiffon, and the latter subconsciously reached out her hand as well. She had always been with William most of the time, and holding his hand felt natural to her. "I'll be taking her for now, Princess," William said with a smile. "Okay." Princess Sidonie nodded. However, before William could leave, Princess Sidonie took the initiative to ask him for something that made Prince Jason frown. "Sir William, can I reserve you for my first dance? Princess Sidonie asked in a teasing tone. Prince Jason looked at the princess before glaring in William's direction. He had already planned on asking her out for the first dance, but it seemed that his beloved cousin planned to avoid his advances. Naturally, William nodded. After all, I am your fiancé. It is only natural for me to have your first and last dance. The way William said the words had a deeper meaning in it. The beautiful princess and her seductive other half immediately understood what William was talking about, and they couldn't help but blush because of his boldness. I will look forward to it then, Sir William, Princess Sidonie replied and gave William the "you're not getting any sleep tonight" wink. This playful exchange between the two made Prince Maximilian and Prince Kevin give each other a knowing glance. They didn't expect that William was capable of doing such a feat, especially when he was in the presence of the royal family. You think too highly of yourself, Shepherd, Prince Jason commented from the side. Know your place. Prince Jason wasn't planning on saying anything, but the moment he saw the blush on his beloved's face, his jealousy burned within his chest. Everyone was paying close attention to what was happening at the table of the royal family. Although the nobles kept their distance and were chatting with each other, their ears and eyes had locked into the conversation that Prince Jason and William were having. William frowned as he glanced at the prince who was staring daggers in his direction. Who are you again? William asked. Sorry, but I only know important people. Princess Sidonie's, Prince Maximilian's, and Prince Kevin's bodies stiffened at the same time. They didn't expect that William would openly provoke Prince Jason in front of everyone in Silverwind Academy. The three princes wanted to slap the half-elf because he intended to have a repeat of what he did in the tavern, which was so close to becoming a brawl between William and Prince Jason. Oh? This is interesting. Someone in my empire doesn't know the name of one of my grandsons. A deep and powerful voice said from behind William. William turned around as he respectfully bowed his head in greeting. Good evening, Your Majesty. William greeted Emperor Leonidas. Emperor Leonidas gave him a brief nod in acknowledgement before repeating his question. Tell me, do you really not know his name? Emperor Leonidas inquired. Evexius, who was standing not far from the emperor, sighed internally. The emperor of the Creator Empire was someone that protected the reputation of the royal family. Anyone who dared to step on its dignity would be sent to the prison to be tortured for an entire week, before sending them to the gallows to be executed. Sorry, but I don't really know who he is, William replied fearlessly. Why would I bother to know the name of the person that is eyeing my fiancé with lusty eyes? All the students, including the professors inside the great ballroom, sucked in a deep breath after hearing William's words. Although they were surprised that the half-elf dared to talk back to their emperor, they were more surprised at the bomb that William had thrown at them. Their gazes landed on the fifth prince of the Creator Empire, who had a calm expression on his face. If what William said was true, Prince Jason's reputation would take a beating, and he would be the subject of the most juicy gossip the Creator Empire had ever heard in a long time. Chapter 540, Too Smart for Your Own Good. I don't know if you are very brave, or very stupid, Emperor Leonidas commented as he appraised the young man in front of him. I think it is the latter. William chuckled as he faced the emperor with a devilish smile. That is also what the elves thought, before they got massacred. They thought of me as a stupid country bumpkin that only knew how to rear sheep in the countryside. Joke's on them, I'm not someone that they can step on lightly. You should have seen the look on their faces, Your Majesty, when their demigod. William didn't finish his words and left it hanging in the air. His words carried confidence and even a subtle hint that he could do the same to the demigod of the Creator Empire, if they went too far and annoyed him. Naturally, this was just a bluff. He was only able to capture Chiffon, the demigod of the elves, because Tacom had helped him seal him for a period of time. If the pocket cube alone had been used against a demigod, it would immediately be destroyed, and the capture would automatically fail. If Tacom didn't partake in Chiffon's capture, William would have had no way to deal with the demigod of the Silver Moon continent. He would probably run back to Lant, and hug Vlad's legs and ask him to deal with the demigod who wanted to bully him. This boy sure knows how to cause a scene. Avexius was starting to regret his decision of accompanying the emperor to attend Princess Sidonie's birthday party. The last time someone threatened me, they suffered terribly before they died, Emperor Leonidas said. What a coincidence, William smirked. I'm good friends with the dead. Do you want me to meet up with my friends, Your Majesty? William subtly opened the portal that led to the Undying Lands. 8 powerful auras descended inside the ballroom, which made everyone gasp for breath. Before he came to the party, he visited the Undying Lands and asked Malake if the demigod could help him with his bluff. After the war ended, Malake had stepped into the ranks of the demigods, but he was still unable to break the chains that bound him. He would have to wait for a year or two before he was freed of his shackles. Malake agreed with William's request because he was feeling bored. Since there was nothing to do within the Undying Lands, scaring a human emperor was a good way to pass the time. Emperor Leonidas had heard from Avexius that several powerful undead helped William in the war against the elves. Since he didn't see it personally, he was unable to estimate how strong these undead were. The emperor of the Creator Empire felt a chill run down his spine when he sensed something sinister among the 8 auras that leaked into the great ballroom. He wasn't too worried about the other 7 powerful auras that were being released. Although these auras belonged to the peak of the myriad beast category, they were no match for the demigod that watched over the Creator Empire. What unnerved him was the 8th aura that he had perceived. This aura clearly belonged to a demigod, and a very powerful one. It was a presence that was stronger than the protectors of the empire and the demigod that ruled them all. Your Majesty, I want to visit Aemon's temple, William said. You're going to give me permission, yes. William was sick and tired of waiting for the emperor to give him permission to meet with Aemon. He didn't come to the Creator Empire to enroll at Silverwind Academy, or to play mind games with the royal family. Also, he still had to go to the Misty sect for his promised battle with Rebecca that would be happening on the founding anniversary of her sect. Since the emperor wasn't taking him seriously, he had no choice but to show Emperor Leonidas that he was someone that the royal family didn't have the leisure to ignore. William closed the connection to the Undying Lands because everyone in the ballroom, except for Princess Sidonie, Chiffon, Ian, Emperor Leonidas, and Avexius, were already gasping for breath. The half-elf had shielded his 2 lovers, and the little girl that was holding his hand, from the effect of the undead auras. For someone of Malake's level, his aura was several times more powerful than Escalar's dragon fear that could easily paralyze anyone below the adamantium rank, centennial rank. Since today is my fiancé's birthday, I will wait to receive His Majesty's answer tomorrow, William said as he gave Emperor Leonidas a curt nod. He then guided Chiffon towards the table of Class F, who was looking at him as if he was a monster. Darling is so awesome. Damn, that confidence gave me the chills. Morgana had entered her fangirl state as she cheered for William inside their shared mindscape. Princess Sidonie, on the other hand, had a complicated look on her face as she gazed at her lover from afar. Will, you took things too far. Princess Sidonie sighed. William had already told her his frustrations about the lack of reply from Emperor Leonidas in regards to his request. She had also helped William and talked to her grandfather once, but the latter brushed her inquiry aside and changed the topic. Sidonie, sometimes, the most direct method is the most effective. Darling is usually a carefree person, but when it comes to things that are important to him, he will not back down. I'm sure that he will do the same for us if we were in Ash's and Est's circumstances. Princess Sidonie smiled bitterly because she also understood this. It is because she understood that William's action made things complicated. Grandfather is not someone who takes threats lightly, Princess Sidonie said. Although he will give Will his permission to visit Aemon's temple, our lover's relationship with the Creator royal family will not be the same again. No, Sidonie. I think you are misunderstanding something. Morgana replied to her other half with a smirk. This is not where we belong. We are from the southern continent, and we will return there someday. Whatever the Creator Emperor wants to do with his empire is none of your business. With that said, who we want to marry is none of his business as well. Princess Sidonie's eyes widened in realization. She had completely forgotten that she was only visiting the Creator Empire because she wanted to help William meet with Aemon in his temple. Her other half was right. She didn't belong in the Creator Empire. Wherever William would be, that was where she would belong. Thank you for reminding me, big sister. I had practically forgotten that this was not the place I was born due to the VIP treatment that we are receiving. You're too smart for your own good, Sidonie. Don't worry, as long as I'm around, you don't have to worry about the small stuff. Evexius walked towards Emperor Leonidas and stood by his side. He had served the emperor for many years, and knew his personality. Deep inside he was even anticipating what was going to happen in the future. Congratulations, Your Majesty, Evexius said through telepathy. You succeeded in probing one of William's trump cards. The corner of Emperor Leonidas' lips raised slightly. Just like what Evexius had said, he was only probing William. He wanted to know how the half-elf would react if he faced him directly. The Emperor of the Creator Empire wanted to know where William's confidence was coming from. You're right, Evexius, Emperor Leonidas replied. I underestimated him. With this, I have gained more confidence in the plan we have in mind. We are going to proceed as planned. Evexius briefly nodded his head to acknowledge his emperor's command. As you wish, Your Majesty.